After its break from EVs since the i3, BMW has been coming out with electric vehicles thick and fast. The company has all electric options in most classes, but this is currently the smallest now that the i3 has been discontinued. It's the iX1, BMW's baby SUV, but it's not exactly tiny. Before we give you all the details though, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have to start off any BMW review these days with a comment about the grille. The one on the iX1 is more restrained than some recent Beamers, but the typical opinion on BMW's current kidney grille strategy isn't that positive. This is a shame because otherwise the iX1 is a well-proportioned small SUV. There are two trim levels available, the X Line and M Sport. The X Line comes with 18-inch wheels, Sensor Deck upholstery and high-gloss black interior trim. The M Sport upgrades the wheels to 19-inch, the upholstery to Alcantara and adds aluminium to the interior trim. All cars have LED headlights, an automatic tailgate and driver assistance features. The xDrive30 motor has 313 HP and a 64.8 kWh battery, which feels rather stingy in a car costing as much as this does. You get 8 colour choices above the basic non-metallic white, all of which are quite sober. This car is Black Sapphire, which is a £595 option. There are option packs available, although quite a few of these are included with the M Sport trim. We have the M Sport version here, but with upgraded 20-inch wheels. They're Technology Plus and Comfort packs, and a panoramic sunroof. Let's take a look inside. BMW's interiors are generally quite well regarded, but the iX1 feels a little more rudimentary than the i4, i7 or iX3. Strangely, for a car that's an M Sport, it doesn't have the M branded sills. There are leather upholstery options for £1,150 extra. There are also two optional interior trims above the X Line and M Sport standard ones. Our car has black Venasca leather upholstery, but the standard M Sport trim. The seats have electric adjustment and memory function only on the driver's sides, which are part of the £1,050 comfort pack. They're heated, but not ventilated or with any kind of massage function. This car also has a Harman Kardon audio upgrade. The cockpit and driving position are comfortable and ergonomic. The overall sense is a little bit more conventional than an iX or i4, however. So this central console's got this kind of flying armrest. You have to press this button to open. You've got a very shallow space to put maybe a small phone. Can't even fit a full-size phone in there. So maybe some coins. And then underneath you've got this other area, which could be good for maybe a handbag. And in front of that, you've got two cup holders and a couple of USB-C ports, and then here is a single charging spot for a phone, and actually it's got this nice function where you can put that across to kind of keep the phone secure. However, even though that space looks big enough for two phones, it's only there for one. So a fairly conventional glove compartment opening. You can see that it's not a bad size. It's bigger than it looks because it actually goes back all the way in here. Plenty of room for probably gloves for the entire family. The rear is where you start to notice that this SUV is slightly smaller than other BMW SUVs. The headroom is pretty decent and it's made even better by the sense you get from this optional panoramic sunroof. However, the knee room is good enough, but probably not enough if you're well over 6 foot. Still, you could fit two normal sized adults in the back, particularly if the people in the front are normal size as well. And I say two because this central seat is fairly thin, although if you don't have somebody sitting here, you can pull this down. You've got an armrest, a couple of cup holders. So just another comment about this panoramic sunroof. You can't open the glass, but you can, it is full length. It's an £1,100 option. Well worth it actually, because it does give a nice sense of space here in the back. So you do get a couple of air vents in the back for the rear seat passengers, but this is not a triple zone air conditioning system. And there's a couple of USB-C ports here. You can room for one phone down here, but the other person is going to have to put their phone in a seat back pocket. Speaking of those seat back pockets, you get one of these on each of the two front seats, so their rear seat passengers can put their copies of Der Spiegel or whatever it is your kids read these days. The two outer rear seats have these nicely composed ISOFIX points for putting child car seats, and the front passenger seat has them too. Although this is BMW's smallest electric SUV, it's actually not compromised when it comes to boot space. It has an electric release but not a kick release, and even with the rear seats up you get a quite useful 490 litres of space, and there's a little bit of space underneath here as well, so you can put some of your charging cables, although that Type 2 cable doesn't fit in the back here. There's a useful bit of netting, and I think this is the obligatory high-vis jacket in there. And on the other side you get a slot for your first aid kit, and there's also this 12-volt output for a mini fridge or for charging a remote control car or something. So the next question is, how do you make this boot bigger? Now, if you feel back here, you will find no way of dropping these seats forward. And that's because BMW has chosen to use these material loops. Now, we asked our cameraman to try and sort this out. I mean, I obviously immediately knew what to do, but he had real problems figuring it out for himself. You pull that and that drops the seats forward. So these rear seats have a 40, 20, 40 configuration, and now you get a sizable 1,495 litres of boot space, which was pretty decent, up there with the compact estate car. That's also way off a Tesla Model Y, which has a much more cavernous rear boot space. However, this car can also tow, and it can tow up to 750 kilograms unbraked and 1,200 kilograms braked. That is an 875 pound option. Just to underline how tricky that system is for dropping these seats forward, if I pull this back up, you'll see it doesn't go all the way. I actually have to pull this material loop again to push the seat all the way back, which makes it pretty inconvenient. And of course, you can't do this one from this side. You have to go all the way around the other side to do the final seat. Anybody with a minor disability, or maybe with only the use of one arm, is going to have real difficulty with this. If the iX1 has one really big Achilles heel, it's the range. That 64.8 kilowatt hour battery is reasonably sized, but you only get a maximum of 267 WLTP miles out of it. The Hyundai Kona, for example, has a similarly sized battery, but gets 300 miles out of it. Yes, it is a smaller car, but this is a more recent car, so you would expect it to be more efficient. The iX1 also supports faster DC charging at 130 kilowatts, although that's not that powerful by today's standards. Still, with a relatively small battery, it only takes 29 minutes to go from 10 to 80% on a fast enough charger. You do get 22 kilowatt AC as standard, which means it takes 3 3/4 hours to charge from empty to full. However, on a 7 kilowatt hour standard home charger, that's going to take about 3 times as long. BMW does claim 3.6 miles per kilowatt hour, but in our mixed driving tests, we didn't get anywhere near that, and we'd probably estimate about 212 miles of range from a full battery. So while you could contemplate long distance driving in this car, the Tesla Model Y beats it hands down, and only the fearless would really head out on a trip from London to Manchester. As already mentioned, this is a relatively conventional BMW cockpit. You get cruise control buttons on the left hand side of the steering wheel, and there's media and general menu controls on the right. And actually that cruise control system is one of the easiest to use we've come across. You get a standard stalk for lights and indicators on the left, and another standard stalk for the windscreen wipers on the right. So you start the car with this button here, and it makes that lovely sound to tell you that it's on. And then you kind of push this paddle up for reverse, one more down for, there's neutral in the middle, and there's drive, and there's also a B mode with added regeneration, and then a parking brake and park mode, and a single button here. You've got buttons for auto hold, and these buttons are for changing the power mode of the car, though to actually change which power mode you're in, you need to go to the LCD screen. Volume control, hazard lights, all quite easy to reach within a central console. You get these options: personal, sport, efficient, expressive, relax, digital art. You can see they're actually combined with kind of decor for the interior lighting and menu. So you don't get a lot of discrete controls for the air conditioning. You do get specific buttons for demisting front and rear windows. The rest of it is on this LCD panel, which isn't such a bad thing because these controls are always visible. If you want more detailed control over the air conditioning, you have to press this climate menu and use the full LCD. You'll see this is where you turn on the heated seats and the heated steering wheel, and you can also do different functions for how the air is distributed around the car. So you get this 10.25-inch digital instrument cluster behind the steering wheel. So you've got speed and a few other things on the left. You've got a central area that gives you different types of messages. That could be some sat-nav information. And on the right you have power and regen, and also what drive mode you're in. Plus there's the range there and external temperature. This car is also equipped with BMW's excellent head-up display, which is part of the Technology Plus pack, which this car is equipped with. You get a second digital screen with this car. This is only slightly bigger than the instrument cluster, 10.7 inches. You can see the home screen comes with sat-nav, media functions, telephone stuff, weather, personal assistant, lots of different things on the screen. It's quite responsive. We added that one. That's an interior camera option, which unfortunately you need an account to be able to use, so we can't actually show you that working. You can add widgets though. You can add the clock, and maybe even your own calendar on there as well, so that's quite useful. So if we go into some of these functions, starting with the sat nav, it's pretty decent sat nav. good keyword-based destination entry system. We're not an absolutely huge fan of BMW's map. It's a bit colourful and a little bit hard to see, but if you've got the HUD, and you can also get a snippet in that instrument cluster as well, so that makes it easier to use. So if you go into, you've got radio, you could have an attached phone providing sound there. Attach your phone that way, because this car does support CarPlay and Android Auto. Weather function, to say if you look at various settings for the car. Now if you do want to add more functions to this car, there's loads of apps that you can install. So you can see lots of ones here that you can install: Wi-Fi connections, snapshot drive recorder, which is for surveillance, so you can use it as a dash cam. All quite useful stuff. So this is an extensible system. One thing this BMW doesn't have is any other way of using that screen. No kind of like wheel or jog thing to operate the LCD panel, but frankly, the touchscreen's good enough. Although it's a small family SUV, it's got xDrive, which means that all the wheels are driven, and this car has a whopping 313 horsepower. That's similar to a Porsche 911 in the 1990s. You only get use of that in sport mode, but with that enabled, it'll hit 62 in 5.6 seconds. That is pretty darn quick for an SUV. However, there are electric SUVs that are quicker, such as the Volvo and of course Tesla Model Y. It's certainly faster than any current dual motor Volkswagen Group SUV. However, this car still weighs nearly 2.1 tons. So while it handles corners with some ability, it's still got a lot of weight to change direction. That said, the driving dynamics beat the Volkswagen Group SUVs and even the Tesla Model Y. On highways, the iX1 is composed. However, it feels like a fast, urban and commuter vehicle than a true mile muncher. Suspension is adequate for bumpy British roads, but it's not as smooth as a Citroën. Standard safety tech includes front collision detection with allegedly brake intervention. This also includes pedestrian and cyclist detection. There is cruise control with a brake function, plus lane departure warning with lane return. Parking assistance includes sensors and a rear reversing camera as standard. If you add the optional driver assistance pack, you get additional safety features. This includes active cruise control and more proactive steering intervention. There's also a stop and go function, but this car doesn't have that pack. BMW's typical problem appears when we consider the price. The base X line starts at over £53,000, and the M Sport is over £56,000. This car with its options is over £60,000, and it's still not fully loaded with everything. That's around the same as a Tesla Model Y Performance, which has more range and is much, much faster. The long-range version of the Model Y has even more range, is still faster, and costs about the same as the base version of the iX1. So while there's a lot to like about the iX1, it does feel a tad expensive. That said, although the basic warranty is only 3 years, it is for unlimited miles, and the battery has a typical 100,000 mile warranty over 8 years. So let's take our traditional look at the reversing camera. Put it in reverse mode, you can see that it does have a 360 top-down view, which is pretty nice, and a decent, if not exceptional, reversing camera. The BMW iX1 is a competent family SUV. It's nicely appointed, as you would expect from a BMW. There's a useful amount of space for passengers and cargo, but the two main problems are the high price and mediocre range. But this is still a quality family electric SUV and worth considering if you don't have to do long range distances very often. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel.